Hello, everyone. We are live. So I am Joao. For those who don't know, I'm here with Shaheen. Say hi, Shaheen.
Hey everybody.
And today we are in the company of Pablo Maldonado, who's building DCA.Monster. All
Hi,
right.
everyone.
Just a shout out for something very important here in the podcast. Stick around for our Q&A because at the end we will be rewarding the best question that you can post on YouTube, on Lonely, whatever. A swag kit packed with Cartesi goodies. So throw these questions in and help us enrich the podcast experience. So talking a little bit about Pablo. Pablo is a very skilled smart contract engineer and he has a passion for blockchain and software development and is leading currently the DCA.Monster project that won Cartesi's first prize at ETH Global in Paris. Was that right,
Correct.
Pablo?
Yeah, 2023. Yeah.
Yes, ETH Global in Paris. And he got an initial Cartesi community grant to develop Python modules featuring streamable tokens and an AMM automated market maker. And now collaborating with Mauro, he's working on a second grant, having recently delivered Cartesi native yields and currently focusing on developing synthetic tokens with Cartesi ecosystem. Was that right? Or did I miss something in there?
That's absolutely right. Yeah.
All right. How are you doing today, man?
Doing well, man. Doing well. Enjoying some vacations currently in Portugal, in the south of to the south of Lisbon. So it's an amazing place to be. I recommend it to everyone. It's called Troya.
Yes.
I'm very happy to be here.
Thanks a lot, man, for joining from your vacation. I know this takes time, but it's very good for us, and I hope you enjoyed the experience here in the podcast as well.
Mm-hmm. My pleasure.
If I could start with a very open question, I guess.
Yep.
I would ask if you can tell the audience exactly what is DCA.Monster.
Yes. So DCA.Monster, initially the first issue that we want to solve is the lack of DCAing, so dollar cost averaging solutions that there is in blockchain in general, on chain, no? As decentralized. We're talking about decentralized solutions. No? So DCA.Monster is an automated market maker that runs in its own app-specific rollup powered by Cartesi, and is blending two existing concepts of the DeFi. One is the automated market maker, the constant product automated market maker, and another one is token streaming. For those who are not familiar with token streaming, it's kind of a transfer, like a regular transfer, but instead of being instantaneous, it runs over time. So it's for sending money over time in a stream. And so by blending these two concepts, these two primitives, we have created an automated market makers that works with token streams and allows to do stream swaps, which is the swap version that occurs over time. And by doing so, we provide natively, by design, this DCAing functionality. No? But not only that. So that's the main issue that we wanted to solve, and that we are solving with this well-known solution. So the AMM that can be integrated in any other DeFi workflow, no? Because it's a primitive. It's something that every Web3 user already knows.
Okay, correct me if I'm wrong here, but like dollar cost averaging is the strategy of buying and selling dollars from a target average price, right? And then you have streaming, which is selling over time. What's the relationship between these two things?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So put in different words. Dollar cost average is when you want to invest in a token, instead of buying, let's say you want to invest $1,000 in Ethereum, for example. No? So if you were not doing dollar cost averaging, you will just buy $1,000 worth of ETH today, now, and that's it. But if you do dollar cost averaging, you could do something like, okay, I will buy every day from today $100 worth of ETH during the next 10 days. So I will get exposition to a big variety of prices. No? And therefore, by doing that, you are reducing your risk to the volatility of the market. No? So you're getting more prices, so you are reducing your risk to lose money, but also you are limiting your profits. No? But it's a trade-off that it's one of the most recommended strategies, no? To invest in cryptos. Instead of aping, going the safe way is probably doing dollar cost averaging. No? And the relation with token streaming, it's in the end, what happens when you are stream swapping is that you are doing micro swaps. So let's say that instead of buying, in my example, every day, $100 worth of Ethereum, you will be buying at every instant the corresponding amount, $0.1, let's say, of ETH. And by doing these micro swaps that occur with these two streams of tokens, you are doing this the finest dollar cost averaging possible. No? But these two streams, so it's clearer. One stream of money will be your $1,000, so the money you are investing that will be open and continuously be sent to the AMM in this case, and the AMM in return will pay you, will send you this stream of money that will, in the end, at the end of the 10 days, will have aggregated all these micro swaps. And the payouts are constantly updated. So you are basically buying live, no? It's like buying live an amount of tokens, if that makes sense.
I see. It's a constant flow of things. It's always happening all the time. Nice.
It's like a pipe between your wallet and the AMM.
Yeah, it really does have this idea of a flow of something going.
Yeah.
This is so nice. Can you tell me, like, what are the capabilities that you're working on in this project exactly for this new grant you received? Even tell us about what was the process of getting this grant also, and how you decided what would be the scope exactly.
Okay. Yes. So the process was when trying to make DCA.Monster more appealing, more competitive, no? Because it's a very competitive space, the AMM space. We realized that LP, the LPs, the liquidity providers, are super important for an AMM. So there needs to be money deposited in your AMM to work, basically. No? So we needed to find a better proposal, not only the regular AMM swap piece, but something more. No, that was one of the things we were thinking. Another issue we wanted to solve was the inefficiency of synthetic tokens that current designs have, also mainly because of the EVM limitations, the EVM smart contract limitations. And finally, we also wanted to align the incentives of node runners of the app-specific rollup that we have, powered by Cartesi, with the interest of DCA.Monster. So align the interests. So basically by rewarding node runners that are validating the state of DCA.Monster with some mechanism. And so we had this collection, let's say, of issues and things that we wanted to solve. And we realized that most of them could be of interest for other projects, and that we could build them as standalone modules that can be reused by other projects. And that's how we decided to just put this collection of 3 independent modules as features written in Python, in this case, that can be reused, no, by other projects. So the first problem that I mentioned, how do we make LPing more interesting? So basically, how do we give more to the liquidity providers? No? And the solution that we found that I think it's pretty cool is we basically, the money that the DCA.Monster users are, and any Cartesi rollup user is depositing in the ERC20 portal, basically, in order to bridge the tokens. This amount of money that typically is just locked in a smart contract in the base layer, we could do something with that money. We could probably reinvest it in other projects and put that money to work and generate yields that can be compounded in with the rewards or the fees generated in the app-specific rollup. No? And how is that possible? Well, what we need is to find projects where we can deposit the money, generate yields, and very importantly, that we can withdraw at any point in time, because users may need to exit DCA.Monster, no? So they want to get back their money in the base layer. Yeah. So this is a prerequisite, not very important. And some of these projects that work well are, for example, lending protocols, like Aave, like MorphoBlue, which is the one that we are using in the deliverable. So the way it works basically is when you bridge money to DCA.Monster, behind the scenes, your money is provided as liquidity to lending platforms like MorphoBlue. It's generating rewards like yields with APYs, so let's say 10%. And on top of that, if you are providing liquidity to DCA.Monster, you are also generating fees, like you are getting fees from the swaps. So you are compounding both fees. And also the yields generated in the base layer are communicated regularly to the app-specific rollup. So with token rebases, which is another concept that exists, already existed. And so the money, that's why it's compounded, no? Because you are doing something on top of it and they compound. So this is what we've just released very recently, which is a very cool mechanism, I think, that can be used by any other project, no? Not only DCA.Monster, but it's basically to use the money in the base layer in the meantime, no? If you do something with it in the app-specific rollup. That's the first one.
I think it is so very intricate, and it's extremely well thought, because something we always discuss here when approving grants is how tokenomics in any dApp should work. What are the advantages and strategies that users can take to make this process more organic? Also, how can you stimulate it? How can you, and that's not only for Cartesi, I think that's app chains in general. It's how can you incentivize validator node runners to actually run their nodes, right? This is also important for the structure of, I think, any app chain app. And it's so many times overlooked when people are just building. They just think of the core functionality, but not of the whole scenario. I think it's very nice that you have everything structured and thought out and planned out.
Yeah, absolutely. That's super important. It's in the end, it's securing the execution of the application. Without validators, the application cannot run. And if we have money staked, like locked in these contracts, the security of this money depends on how these validators perform. So it's a very important part of it. But yeah, and basically I've skipped the second. We haven't talked too much about the synthetic tokens, but basically tokens that give exposure to real world assets, but very efficiently, because that's one of the coolest things of building in Cartesi, right? You can port existing concepts on the DeFi and stretch their limits, no? And play with their limits, make them more efficient, and do things that were not possible before. That's what we're doing with the synthetic tokens. And finally, as you mentioned, no? This mechanism to align incentives. So stay tuned.
So Pablo, let me zoom out a little bit. Like this whole movement of like DeFi and decentralized exchanges. I think it began with automated market makers, and Uniswap being like popularizing it, like being the like the trailblazer of these kind of applications, these dApps. So where do you see like how different does DCA.Monster become? And it's imagine like if you were to write a tweet to the creator founder of Uniswap, what would you tell him? Like what are the features we have added on top of Uniswap that makes it like a distinguished or different app?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the features, so basically it's stream swap versus swap. That's one of the biggest differences. Your swap occurring over time. And because it occurs over time, there are other properties that we have. No? These swaps can also be scheduled. You can program a swap to start in the future, for example, if you want. But you can also add conditions to your swaps, like swap only if the price is above a certain number. And also the compounded yields that I mentioned. Mainly, I think the most expressive feature that we have is the stream swapping, providing native dollar cost averaging. And dollar cost averaging is something that is being constantly, I guess, researched, people trying to build solutions, but I think they are bad because they try to repurpose the existing AMM design, like the Uniswap, just taking Uniswap and trying to make DCA with it. And these solutions are bad because the fees become very expensive. That's what we have solved also.
Interesting. And now you're not just confining yourself in the layer one for example, like you're not confining yourself to Ethereum. You're taking yourself to a roll-up solution, and you're using Cartesi. So how is Cartesi helping you with that logic? Like what are the capabilities of Cartesi that is helping you to stream swap and fees? I think you already covered, like it's saving you fees, like moving to a different layer, like a layer two. But how does Cartesi help you with that logic of stream swapping?
So, well, first of all, this logic, this stream swapping, conditional swaps, they are heavy in terms of computation compared to what a smart contract in an EVM can do. No, they are not heavy for a smartphone. DCA.Monster could perfectly run in a smartphone, but EVM smart contracts have huge limitations because of the gas, because of how it works. There are many things you can do, no? Like processing and computing is very costly. So that's one of the first issues that we had with this design that without Cartesi wouldn't be possible, because computation in Cartesi is free, basically, and storage is also free. We can have unlimited storage and just like occupy a hash depends on how often we store the hash in the base layer, no? But it's almost infinite, the storage that we have. So with these two huge benefits, like unlimited computation, unlimited storage, we've made possible this design. Otherwise, this wouldn't be possible in an EVM smart contract, and not even in other chains. Like I don't think in Solana we could do this either. Solana, where the computation is also very cheap, but the storage is not that cheap. That would be the issue. So yeah, this is all possible thanks to Cartesi.
Go on, Shaheen. Sorry.
I mean, for us, like for any developer, the mindset sort of changes. Like you don't look at computations, you don't associate computations with the cost. Yeah, you're like a free bird, if you will.
Yeah.
You just compute whatever the hell you want, and it just works.
Yeah. Exactly. And you can have Web 2 experiences in a Web 3 environment. Like provide Web 2 experiences, which are better, to be honest, no? Like richer. You don't have those limits with the benefits of the Web 3.
Exactly. And yeah, I mean, it's like a state machine, Web 2 state machine from our perspective, from a developer perspective, and you can prove that state and leverage the security of the base layer. That's very. Yeah.
And also, it's super cool. I mean, that you can deploy it in any EVM-compatible chain. That's awesome. You can benefit from all the EVM ecosystem. So your application can benefit from all the EVM ecosystem with that property. That we can deploy in base network, we can deploy in main network, we can deploy in any other chain, Polygon, Optimism. That's very cool, especially when your application interacts with some other thing in the base layer. In our case, with these native yields, it's very interesting because there are many lending markets, other AMMs, things that we can interact with. So each deployment of DCA.Monster could have different properties, benefits. Like imagine the APY, I don't know, in base network in MorphoBlue is huge. So DCA.Monster deployment in that chain will be using that APY. No? The liquidity providers of DCA.Monster will be on top of that. I also like to describe this mechanism as a symbiotic parasite. We are kind of a parasite of the liquidity of other platforms because we are still providing liquidity to MorphoBlue, and it's beneficial for both, for DCA.Monster because we get liquidity, but it's also beneficial to MorphoBlue because not only their LPs get more yields because of the compounding effect, but we are also bringing an extra functionality, an extra value to their service, let's say. No, their liquidity is providing another service apart from the borrowing, and I think it's cool.
It's funny when you mentioned symbiotic parasite. My mind instantly went to comic books, and I started thinking about Venom and Spider-Man, and then I started to remember biology classes.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking like it should be named as DCA Parasite.
Could be a version of it. Yeah.
Symbiont. I like Symbiont. But seriously, you seem to be very well versed in DeFi concepts in general. You've been working with DeFi for a while before Cartesi. How was or did you start? How was
Yes,
the
well,
Go on, sorry.
Well, it all started as when I first got into cryptos, just trading, losing money, and then trying to do automated trading bots. It was my first encounter, and I got hooked, and from there just pulled. And at some point, I started working as a smart contract engineer. I'm smart contract engineer at UMA, so I've been doing optimistic oracles.
Nice.
Yeah, like MEV capturing mechanisms. So yeah, that's how I guess I've learned a bit about DeFi in general and different aspects of it.
I love that you started your experience with trying to invest and losing money.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, I don't love it for you, but it's fun. It's funny.
I'm happy that it occurred a while ago, because you need to lose money, otherwise you don't know. You don't know.
That motivates you to understand it better.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how you learn.
We were mentioning Cartesi and DeFi as a whole, and do you see Cartesi stack being able to be integrated in other areas in the blockchain space besides or beyond DeFi as a whole?
Yeah,
Or even
yeah.
DeFi, do you have any insights or visions for what can be done with it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, well, first of all, games in the games industry is very clear that Cartesi has a big value proposition. Not only provable gameplays, which is something that we've already seen, like playing Doom, being able to prove your gameplay, which is super cool. And with any other game that you can port and run and compete, challenge other players just by comparing gameplays, I think it's super cool. But also games that store, that have safe games, no? Stored in on chain with Cartesi. That's super cool. No? So even I recently talked with Zach about like being able to convert save games to NFTs, so you can share them with others, and so they can keep building on top of your gameplay. That's super cool, and probably a new variety of game, on-chain game. No? Also AI, I guess, like being able to run LLMs or any machine learning model in a smart contract is just huge. No? The possibilities. Also, I like to think about hybrid dApps, because I think I haven't seen many hybrid dApps that they partially run in an EVM smart contract and also have another part that runs in an app specific rollup in Cartesi, no? And they can get both worlds, no? The benefits from both sides. Like they can offload to the Cartesi dApp heavy computations, for example, get back the results, things like that. That will be super cool. And also, I know recently you've been doing, I don't know exactly the details, but collaborations with Aegon Layer. I think that's super cool, and it makes a lot of sense. The AVSs, which is actively verified systems, I think they call it. So basically, like software that is running off chain with an operator that has staked an amount of money, and they basically they need to follow the rules. So probably just running the software, and store on chain or do whatever they need to do. And I think Cartesi fits perfectly in that mechanism, and it makes a lot of sense. So I'm very excited about that and thinking about it also.
Yeah, partnering with Eigenlayer, for example, and what you mentioned about hybrid applications. We have this initiative of co-processor where you can run just part of your dApp within this, not rollup, but you can delegate just part of what you need to do in your application. You don't have to write all of it using Cartesi.
Yep.
So there are multiple options coming up in there, and we've been exploring. That said, with the restructuring, with the development of DCA.Monster and its growth and getting bigger and a more full-fledged project, what is your vision for DCA.Monster? Not only within Cartesi and with what Cartesi provides, but in the general broader Web3 landscape, right? How do you see DCA.Monster going forward?
Yeah. So I think DCA.Monster will be will offer a set of refined financial tools that are targeting everyday users. So the goal is to onboard DeFi users, DeFi new joiners, without without the pain that current DeFi has. Like, there are mechanisms that are very painful, like or risks like liquidation, being liquidated when you are investing in synthetic tokens, for example, slippage, getting sandwich attacked, things like that, no? Or not being able to do dollar cost average, or if you try to do it, it's super expensive. It's not reliable. All of this pain, to just remove it and build a platform where users can invest easily in tokens and other products. I think that's how I envision, no? DCA.Monster. Very friendly application for these new joiners.
So, talking a little bit more about how you got into Web3, when did you exactly start, and how was it? What did you start working on initially? I mean, we already heard you started with trading, you lost money, but in the technical side of things, what did you learned or build initially? You jumped into Web3, and any challenges if there were initially. Let's talk about that a bit.
Yeah. So other than building these automated trading bots, this was off-chain infrastructure in the end, like scripts to perform trades in centralized exchanges. When I started working with smart contracts, there were many limitations. Like when I started writing Solidity smart contracts, first of all, you discover that most of your the ways you write code, no, you can't do it anymore. There are many limitations. Debugging is super painful, especially some years ago. Like understanding why this is not working or why. So the Web3 experience was super bad. There was a lot of friction for a new joiner. You really had to be very passionate about it to overcome these issues. So that's what.
To be clear, which year are we talking about here?
We're talking about 2019, I think. Yeah, it was very progressive. In 2019, I was just doing it as a hobby on my side, for playing with tokens. I didn't understand anything about. I mean, I didn't research too much at the beginning. Just aped in. with cryptocurrencies, and then progressively learn
I think
more
my
about
mind
it.
is still a little frozen in time because I hear
Yeah.
2019 and I think, oh,
Yeah.
that was yesterday. It's so recent, and then I make the math and it's like it's been 5 years already.
Yeah. It's been fun. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man. I mean, 2019. I think I started this a little late in 2020, like late in
Mm-hmm.
2020, and then the 2021, the cycle that got crazy. Like I was so interested in understanding why the heck these JPEGs are being sold for millions. That was like got me like into understanding all of this. Okay, what's going on? What's Ethereum? What everything is. But that's very interesting to understand. Like we all start with some sort of trading, and then we start jumping into these understanding the concepts, what's behind them.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty interesting.
In
Yeah.
the end, in my case, it was just friends and family that introduced me. So I don't know in your case how it happened. But I wish I had discovered earlier all the hackathons, all this community, that would have been great. This is something I recommend to any Web3 developer, participating in a hackathon as soon as possible.
Talking about hackathon,
Yeah.
if Global Paris,
Hmm.
right? You discovered Cartesi there, I think. I don't know if you heard of it before.
I heard of it in some months before in another ETH Global in Portugal, in Lisbon.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you heard of it, did you instantly think of DCA.Monster? Did you think of it as a project? Were you more geared towards bounty hunting? You wanted to create a more feasible real world use case? How was the whole
Hmm.
how everything happened?
Well, when I met the Cartesi team I remember in Lisbon, 2023, I learned from scratch what Cartesi was, and when I understood that it was possible to write smart contracts in any language without computation limitations, etc., etc., I think I just started looking backwards, uh, reproducing all the situations where I encountered, walls in front of me, like trying to build something and just stumbling upon a wall, because it wasn't possible, and kept thinking about it, no? Like what were the limitations that I encountered, no? What things were not possible, um, and that was my first thinking, I think, like, uh, remembering, no, all the pain, um, developing Solidity smart contracts and the limitations, and that's how I started thinking about this concept of um, combining things that I knew that existed, like token streaming, for example, which was a very cool thing, but by that time, no one was using it. No? There were not real use cases for token streaming other than subscriptions or paying salaries. But that's it. It was very, very limited. Um, and I thought, how can I combine this with something else? No? Um, Also, I had this idea of doing dollar cost averaging, something I was trying myself, like with different solutions. Um, for a while, I did it with a centralized exchange, so Coinbase, for example, doing recurrent buys, because
Mhm.
a recurrent buy is the equivalent of doing dollar cost averaging. No? That's what you are achieving effectively, with a recurrent buy. But it's super expensive in the end. You start summing all the fees that you're paying for each transaction. But and that's how I decided that blending these two concepts and doing this infinite granularity DCA was super cool and only possible because I could do basically a for loop in my smart contract and iterate through all the balances of all the users and do small computations. And yeah,
I really have this thing with DCA.Monster. I like it so much as a DApp. Every workshop, every podcast, every time I talk about Cartesi, I like to mention DCA.Monster because I think it's so complete in its scope. It's like it feels to be so thought out. It was, of course, well deserving of getting the first prize in Paris, and yeah, I don't know. I think all I can add here is like saying congratulations for you in building that. It's so awesome, man. But I know that Shaheen has some questions for you in a rapid fire fashion.
Oh.
All right, so let's switch gears a bit. I'm gonna ask a couple of questions for you, Pablo, and the rule here is you have to answer either in one word or one sentence. You cannot take more than that.
Okay.
Is that good? Shall we begin?
Perfect. Let's do it. Yeah.
Okay, so I have some questions here, and the first question is, if there was one hack that you had to tell to all the Web3 developers, what would that be? Any tip that you want to give, like which would make people successful in Web3?
I would say tenderly debugging tools that are free.
Okay.
That's
free tools for debugging.
Tenderly, it's called.
Tenderly.
Super useful when you're completely lost trying to understand. Yeah.
All right. So we know Cartesi is cool, but if you had to name one other Web3 project on top of your head, which you think is doing great these days, which project would that be?
A very cool project. It's synthetic tokens that give exposure to postcodes, the price of real estate in postcodes.
All right. And what about the biggest pain point in Web3 right now?
I would say interoperability between chains.
Interesting. And what about your favorite feature of Cartesi, or something you found, okay, this is like the best thing about Cartesi?
Well, as I started a year ago or so, I would say Sunodo, renamed to Cartesi CLI, because it's much better. Like the developer experience has increased by 10 with that tool, I'd say.
Awesome. Yeah, we can talk in lengths about Sunodo and CLI, but our last question is, if you had to give one shout out to somebody out there in Web3, somebody who inspired you, who would that person be?
I think it would be for a guy called Jordan that I met in a hackathon. He is in his 60s or so. He's retired and he participates in all the hackathons that he can. You will see that every global event, every big hackathon, he's always there. And he, most of the time, solo hacks. So he's alone and he's got like 50 bounties. And last time that I checked his GitHub, he's a serial killer. Very good ideas, very creative guy.
Yeah, that's Jordan.
Yeah.
Jordan,
do you know Jordan?
Yeah.
No. Wow.
We do know him. He always says he's a big fan of Cartesi. I think he hacked with us once or twice already.
Okay.
Yeah, he's always so nice. Bringing family to events, and he's a very fun guy to be around.
Exactly. So I met him in
I can be
in
pretty
Lisbon.
sure you're not the only person he has inspired.
Yeah.
Oh man,
Cool.
that's awesome. I think we can move for the demo now.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you have something to show us?
Yeah, I can show the UI and stream swap maybe. That makes sense. Let's see. Present. So yeah, we're still working on a new version of the front end, so I will present the kind of old version, so I don't show incomplete things. But basically, this is an AMM interface. No, I mean everybody that has used an AMM knows more or less what we're talking about. You can pick a token and just swap an amount of tokens. In this case, I'm gonna be swapping, let's say, 1,000 USDC to buy Cartesi. But what I want to do is a stream swap, no? Because I want to do dollar cost averaging, let's say, of Cartesi. I configure this stream swap to go over a month and start now. And that's it. So and this is running locally, so it's super fast currently. We should be able to see the stream here. Here, well, we already had a bunch of other streams going on, and this is the last one. This is the one we just started. No, we can see that it goes. So it's going to take 30 days to complete. And this means that I'm sending this amount of money, no? So we can understand the numbers are moving, no? We can understand that there's a flow of money going to the AMM and a flow of money, in this case, Cartesi tokens, going to my wallet. We can also see the price currently with the current market conditions, the prices that I will be paying over these 30 days. If any person interacted with the AMM during these 30 days, creating a new price, so moving the price of the Cartesi token versus USDC in this case, right? My payouts will be updated, so it gives exposition to all the prices. No? We have some other examples here. No? We can see this guy. Well, he started the swap here yesterday or this morning, and something occurred here, a swap that changed the price of the token. So we can see how he's receiving more, no? More tokens, because probably the price went down. Someone dumped the token. And again, we can see that during, in this case, 18 hours, these are all the prices you will get. So in blue, we have the tokens you've gotten so far, the prices you've paid so far. And in green, in the green color, it's a forecast. No? It's a forecast because it's reading all the state of the DApp. And based on all the ongoing and scheduled orders that we have, scheduled swaps that we have, we can simulate what will be your price if no one else interacts. But it's a forecast that it can change anytime. If, for example, I just swap now, let's see, let me check the price. So the price of Cartesi here, while I'm paying a spot price of 1.3. So I'm going to buy Cartesi, and I'm going to do a classic swap now. So I affect the price, the effect is bigger. No? I have too many orders going on. Sorry, because I'm trying to use too much. Let's see if with $1,000 I can do it.
This is so awesome, and it feels so alive. You can see the things actually happening, totally in front of you.
Yeah. So it's taking a bit to be picked by the local node. Let me see with a quick refresh. Not sure if it's worked. Oh yeah, I think it's worked. Yeah, we can see that there's been a slight, because it's a long period of time, but this trade of 1,000 Cartesi that I did has moved the price of the token, making it go up. I don't know if we can see it here. Yeah, so basically here, this is my swap, I think. It has basically changed the price of the token.
I see.
But yeah, many things moving here. There are also conditions. This is a swap with conditions, conditional swap. So we can see that here we are buying only if the price of Cartesi is less than $6. So this stream swap that is configured to run over, it was a 24-hour stream swap. No? At some point, because all of these swaps are buying Cartesi, no? So making the price rise. No? So at this point, so in a few hours, the price of Cartesi is going to hit 6, and I will stop buying. So my stream swap will stop buying because of that. So this is a condition, like, and all with a single transaction. No? That's the cool thing. So nothing is. This is all lazy evaluation for the developers that are out there. Nothing is constantly calculating the new payouts or anything. It's just it's evaluated at every transaction.
Are you having any third-party integrations? Like, from what I understand, like these price fluctuations, these are already like measured by the AMM that you have built, right? Do you have? Do you need like any price oracles that feed you the price, like in the real world price of CTSI or something?
No, not for this product. I mean, in the end, the prices are the prices of the AMM that we can read on chain.
Right.
But for the synthetic tokens that we are developing, we will need a third party, like a price oracle, price feed that we will use. Yeah. But it's a completely different thing, let's say.
Yeah. So while designing all of this, like I remember the very first UI UX of this DCA.Monster, which has like it was like very scrappy version of DCA.Monster. Now like there's a lot of information. It's gives a sense of like you see information. It adds to the transparency for the user. So for people who want to use DCA.Monster, what would you want to share on the security side of things? Like what makes DCA.Monster secure? And around this sphere, what would you like to share?
Well, of course, DCA will never be public without a code audit. No, that's super important. Something we will do. But apart from that, like security, like code vulnerabilities. No? If we forget about that, if we think just about the design, one could think that, okay, if I'm scheduling my swaps, or if I have a stream swap that is already programmed and it's public, one could think that a sandwich attack is possible. No? Like someone can buy just before me, so I get the worst price and then sell the tokens immediately to myself. That's a sandwich attack, no? But it's not possible because by design, DCA.Monster protects against these situations or these scenarios, no? Because with how it works with this lazy evaluation, every time there is a new swap, we always give priority to the existing swaps. So they always go first, and then the new swaps come. So it's completely solved by design, the sandwich attack. No? That's not possible here. And yeah, that will be one of the security concerns, no? That I think we have covered.
Cool. That's good to hear. Like we're gonna have a community Q&A session as well, but
Okay.
if somebody wants to get in touch with get involved with maybe contributing or asking questions in DCA.Monster further, where could they go? Do you have a community, or where can they
Yeah.
follow you or something?
Yeah, of course. Well, they can reach us in, I guess, Twitter, but also on Telegram. Just in Cartesi's Telegram, for example, we are there. They can ping us. And of course, in Discord, no? We are also in Discord, in the Cartesi Discord, so they can find us there. Yeah, otherwise in Twitter, no? That's the social network that we have currently, like X. Yeah.
That's right.
So anyone passionate about DeFi or any kind of profile, we are open to chatting and seeing how we can collaborate.
Okay, so I think we should go to the community questions right now. It seems to be a good opening for it, right? So the first question we have is, let me put it here. Have you been tracking the efforts to send messages across rollups? Do you see this as having a positive for DCA.Monster?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know I've been tracking many projects and that are doing this, like sending messages in a fully decentralized way, no? Cross-chain. In the case of DCA.Monster, if we manage to have, I don't know if messages will be enough, probably not, but manage to centralize all the liquidity in a single chain, in a single place, that will be awesome. But this goes beyond message, cross-chain messaging. It's a step, cross-chain messaging. But for now, DCA.Monster deployments with the current design, how it works, they are isolated one from each other. This cross-messaging could be useful for governance, something like that. Definitely for governance, like propagating governance decisions to other chains, other deployments would be great.
I see.
Yeah.
This is awesome. Next community question. We have plenty of them today.
Mm-hmm.
So, have you seen the Cartesi Cash project in the ecosystem? Did you hear that there's a shielded pool being proposed for dApps, such as DCA.Monster? Do you see value on adding that to your project if you were to add it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think this is a 2 or 3-parter question.
Yeah. So I haven't seen that project in detail, but if it's a shielded pool, that means a lot of sense. We can, as I said, now we are a symbiotic parasite, so we can be deployed in any liquidity pool and benefit from it and return the value to the pool as well. In this case, I don't know if this pool will be producing yields. Maybe it will. In the ideal scenario, it would. But yeah, it will be, probably it will I understand the shielded world means that it's more secure. It has security features and properties, and most likely it could be useful for us. Like,
I love the
leverage its
ideas of
security.
I love the idea of getting our projects together. It's just like the times
Mhm.
where Venom helped Spider-Man. For the next one, we have you ever felt a deep sense of accomplishment since you started building DCA.Monster? At what point, if you did, feel
Mhm.
this
Yeah.
happening to you?
Yeah, so honestly, with the latest grant that we delivered recently, it was it was an idea of mixing these concepts of the input box, um, the money lending protocols like Morpho Blue, and on top of Cartesi rollup. It was a bit complex, as you said, a bit twisted idea. And once we have, we provide in the deliverable a big script that simulates all the workflow, no? Like an actual lending market called Morpho Blue, probably you know it, a market created in Morpho Blue, all the contracts that we need, and a user bridging money to DCA.Monster, providing liquidity to Morpho Blue behind the scenes. And then someone generating some activity in Morpho Blue, like lending money, paying some interest, and seeing how all this complicated script works, and seeing how all the yields are communicated to the rollup uh, in a very clean way, you know, with the token rebases, and having these amounts usable in the Cartesi rollup was quite fulfilling, no? Like being able to see all this complexity, no? That sound like a bit complex, but working very smoothly, was fulfilling. No?
This is awesome, man. I think we have one last final, and this is probably the winner of our swag kit, which is MTTLY. He posted on Lonely, and the question is, what do you think about those ETFs and bonds between crypto and stocks? If you have any opinion on that.
The ETFs and stocks, I don't know if it refers to like the Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs,
Yeah, I think so.
or if it's a relation with the synthetic tokens, potentially synthetic tokens as well. Yeah, I guess, to be honest, I think it's beneficial for the ecosystem. In the end, it's giving more entry points to the outer world. So it's good that we get more people in, no? And potentially ready to jump to the on-chain world and start playing with DeFi applications. So I think it's very beneficial for DeFi in general, because it's a very good entry point.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, for you yourself, you started with trading, so anything that's an entry point for the ecosystem is good.
Yeah.
It's helpful, right?
Exactly. And when they start seeking these Web2 experiences in DeFi, that's where they can start using DCA.Monster.
Yeah, exactly. Man, yeah, so I think that's why I like the question. You can even think of it in multiple ways, and it's still relevant. So, yep. I think that was it. So
Awesome.
to wrap up, I think we talked a lot about lots of things. We talked a little bit about Pablo, his journey. We talked about different experiences in building with Cartesi on hackathons. We understood what DCA.Monster is. We got a kick-ass demo, which is pretty amazing.
Which is still
Which is still going. You can actually see it's so live. It's working so well. It's still going, and we can have it for a good while. So, Pablo, seriously, thank you so much for coming. I didn't get to know you before the podcast, but it was so pleasant having you here. You are just awesome, man. I love the way you communicate, the way you pass on ideas. Thank you for answering all our crazy questions and going with our weird flow. This was awesome.
It was my
man.
pleasure.
Seriously.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, very, very fun to be here. And by the way, if anyone wants to reach us on Telegram, my handle, I don't know if we can put it somewhere. It's
Yeah, we can add it in the screen.
Pimaldo, so PMALDO. That's how they can
PMALDO. Like
find
this.
me if they want to talk about anything in general.
That's awesome.
So yeah, super fun,
Nita,
guys.
Can you add it to the screen just so people can see what's the Pablo's Telegram handle? Real quick. And yeah, guys. Last thing I would like to say is for people to join our Discord, communicate with all of us, join our communities, follow on Twitter, Pablo as well, DCA.Monster project as a whole. Keep tabs on it because I think this is a big one. This is gonna be great. So that's it. Thank you so much. This was iBuilder 4am, and keep building and pioneering the world of Web3. Bye-bye.
Cool. Bye.
everybody.